the desert of the real.
Welcome to the Desert of the Real. I am your host, Ryan Hudson. Desert of the Real is a movie podcast where I force my co-host, Jason Dietz, to watch the big blockbusters he's refused to watch because he didn't think they were worth his time. We are two high school English film philosophy creativity teachers with graduate degrees, using our academic training to dig deeply into movies. We are exploring the creativity and philosophy in our films, and we push our listeners to think critically about their entertainment. We are, of course, going through the Marvel movies for the first time for Jason.
Sadly. I'm the co-host, Jason Dietz, and this week we watched the masterpiece, Thor the Dark World.
Listeners, you are in for a treat because Jason
had a long day
He
today.
had a long day. He's got a taste of the grumpies right now.
I do not. I'm never grumpy. Ask my kid.
And I'm going to try to convince you that this one's actually good.
Okay, good luck.
Here's the thing. I think a lot of people put this movie near the bottom of all of them. And I think that's wrong and a mistake. For one thing, it's better than the first Thor movie. But I actually Googled this movie, and I saw it came up with the Google search, can I skip Thor the Dark World? like, is this one necessary? I don't think that's true. And what's funny, you won't know this yet, but retroactively, this one becomes super important. And down the road in the Avengers movies. Like, what's the plot?
I can tell you
what's the summary?
The lack of plot is. In Thor the Dark World, some mystical thing is happening that I still don't really understand, even having finished the movie.
I don't think it's
the
important
convergence,
to know.
I guess not. And so basically what's happening is the 9 worlds are aligning in some way, which apparently causes some powerful something to happen. We also have the introduction of some kind of mystical thing that I don't ever really figured out either, called the ether.
Spelled with an A.
Aether, yes. It's probably a Gaelic word.
Yeah.
And we also are introduced to the third of the 9 worlds, which is the Dark World, where Malekith, who is the king of the Dark Elves or something, wants to destroy Asgard for some reason.
Yeah.
We don't know why.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get the Aether so that he can do it because of the Aether's mystical and unexplained powers.
Huh.
And he realizes he's not going to do that, so he literally destroys his entire race except for himself and his few trusted homeboys. Mm-hmm. We have Thor, and Thor has captured Loki, and Loki's in jail, and he's very depressed.
Yeah.
And then somehow Jane Foster does something and gets the Aether inside of her.
Yeah.
Something.
She touched it and it went into her.
Whatever. I don't know how she got there.
I don't know
why she was there.
Stuff.
We don't know how
She's
the Aether chose
looking
her.
at scientific
but
things.
It just kind of whoops into
happens,
her.
Yeah.
And she apparently cannot use the Aether. Only
the
Dark Elf.
She doesn't know how to control it, though.
Oh, she doesn't know how to control.
Because the people touch her.
And explodes.
Yeah.
Right. So, anyhow, there's various explosions of Natalie Portman's power. And then, because of those explosions, the Dark Elf realizes, oh, it's over there.
Right.
So the Dark Elf comes and attacks Asgard because Thor stupidly goes and gets Natalie Portman and brings her to Asgard.
Oh, it's not like they don't have magical doctors.
It's not like Thor's intelligent in any way.
Like, you have a magic thing in you. I have magic doctors.
Great. So he brings the one thing that will cause the destruction of everything to Asgard. which basically serves as a beacon to the Dark Elves. They come to Asgard. Somehow they get in, supposedly is protected from everything out there. But somehow they manage to breach the thing.
That's like, what's his face? Heimdall's like, he's shocked he can't see them. They just had this, I don't know, back pocket power.
Yeah, they borrowed from Star Trek. They're Klingons. I think is what happened, because they kind of look Klingon-y, actually.
Kinda, yeah.
Actually, that's a good take. So these are actually Klingons that the MCU stole from Star Trek, which is a much better group of movies. Let
scientific mumbo jumbo pass in Star Trek, but not in this movie.
I have no problem with the cloaking thing.
All right.
I have problem with inconsistency.
All right,
nothing can come in except for when the plot needs it to come in. So it comes in. Malekith beams himself down onto whatever, confronts Frigga, who says, I'm never going to tell you where the ether is. Malekith says, I believe you, shanks her. We have actually a really kind of cool Nordic death send-off. Thor's really sad. Yeah. Odin's really sad. Yeah. Loki's still depressed and eating his toenails. Yeah. And then we have Odin say, don't go anywhere with Jane because we can protect. And then Thor immediately goes and lets Loki out because I don't like... I understand that he knows the secret way. Right. Why would you ever let Loki out after the Avengers movie?
Because Jane is dying.
I don't know. That's
Who's
dumb.
the one person?
That's dumb. You would not let Loki out. He's like this anyhow. So
you had him in handcuffs.
Okay. So he lets Loki out. Yeah. They go to the Dark World. Of course, the Dark Elf finds them prior to the epic battle scene in which Loki, quote-unquote, dies. Malekith gets the ether out of Jane into him conveniently in the transfer process. His entire plan to take over the universe is revealed to Jane. Then we go back to Earth, where the not very impressive final battle takes place.
Well, to be fair.
No, I mean, they fight, and there's a
lot of fun stuff.
Punching and crap, but ultimately, Thor wins not because of his own skills, not because of the skills of anyone involved. He wins because the convergence whoops Malekith off to the Dark World, where he's crushed by a spaceship that randomly also... Did Thor move the spaceship in so he can crush him?
Skarsgård used something to direct the spaceship.
Anyhow, Malekith gets crushed.
He threw...
Whatever. And then we have the surprising revelation that Loki is not dead and has actually just impersonated Odin on the throne. And Thor says, I cannot be the king of Asgard. Yeah. I'm going to nobly not be the king and do other things.
Exactly.
Because I'm not done playing with my hammer.
Yeah.
The end.
Right. That's basically stuff that happened
exactly the movie. So.
All right. What do you give it out of 5 stars on your Letterboxd?
I would probably give it 2 stars.
Okay.
What'd you give the first one? There's a lot of more than that. Thor, the first one, is, I think, my second favorite so far.
Wow. Yeah.
The Avengers is the best one so far.
Yeah.
This is a 2. Sorry, this is a 2-star for me because there's massive amount of logical inconsistencies in the plot. They do things that are incredibly moronic. It's visually gorgeous.
Yes.
Like, this is a visually very impressive movie.
I think we forget how nice this one looks.
Yeah,
this one's
beautiful.
Easily the most cinematic one.
Yeah.
And for some reason, shortly after this, that look like goes away. We adopt like the gray look.
That's unfortunate.
It is. And like people they don't remember that this one, in my opinion, is pretty good. Like better than the first Thor for sure.
I disagree.
But what I gather, because I didn't see the discourse at the time, people kind of realized or start to say Marvel has a villain problem. We don't have memorable villains.
Yeah, that's one of my nits for this.
Yeah, and it's not hard. He's a whatever. He looks cool.
Yeah.
It's Christopher Eccleston for some reason.
Well, I love Christopher Eccleston.
I do too, but he's not doing a lot here.
No, he is not.
Yeah,
That's one of my 3 problems
Well,
that you also have.
Yeah, that's one of my problems.
Like, what the heck? You have Christopher Eccleston.
He's fantastic.
Let him do it.
I think it was a mistake to have them speak in a fake elfish language. I think that disconnects us more.
Yeah.
And I also think just people what's the problem? Forgettable. Anything more specific? No.
But he, I think, is the coolest looking villain so far.
Looks cool, for sure.
Yeah.
Then he gets, like, scarred on half his face.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah. Visually, this is the best one yet.
I know, and I looked up the director because I'm like, what else did he do? And 2 years later, he gave us Terminator Genesis.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so,
So he's
I don't even hate that movie, but it's like...
yeah, it's not T2. So.
Then he did, like, Game of Thrones. He did more TV, more Game of Thrones. So he kind of... He's not doing movies so much. This
was his big...
Well,
attempt.
I think this gave him Genesis. Genesis bombed,
so
he did some TV stuff. He did the movie for The Sopranos, which I didn't watch. I've never watched Sopranos, but that's the last movie he did. He's just doing TV now, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes a studio just needs a guy to point a camera and knows how to point a camera. That's all they need sometimes. That's a big problem in the industry. Like, are you competent to make your shots look good? You're hired type of thing.
Really?
Kinda.
Wow.
Well, it's interesting around this time, Disney and like other ones too, Universal and stuff, where they're getting their directors for their big blockbusters to helm the big ones. It's like, you did a successful low budget movie. Like for example, Rian Johnson he did Looper, science fiction that was successful. Here's Star Wars. Here's the keys to Star Wars. Colin Trevorrow, I forgot what he did. They gave him the keys to Jurassic World, which was the biggest movie of the year and stuff. And, like, the guy... there's other examples, too. Like, you did well in a small scale. Here are the keys to the kingdom. Give us the money. And the studios are basically transitioning to that. In fact, the next Thor is a great example. Taika Waititi directs Thor 3 because he proved he could do good on a small scale type of thing. And then here's all the money in the world. Make it successful again. So, this guy did not succeed, though.
This guy?
Yeah.
I thought you liked this.
Oh, I do like it, but...
Financially, he didn't?
No, I don't know. This one's not like one of the big hitters or anything. But I don't know his name. He hasn't been making more movies.
That's because of the writing, I think, more so than the directing.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, Dr. Dietz.
Positives, yeah.
What do you have?
It's a beautiful movie.
It looks
It looks amazing.
Except for The Dark World, I would say.
Right.
That doesn't look good.
It's just like dark.
This is the most beautiful Asgard has and will ever look.
Yeah.
Like the next time we see it, it's whatevs.
Other positives.
Can we talk about Loki?
He's so good.
Big takeaway.
Okay, we can skip.
No.
I'm just saying he is by far the best thing in the Thor verse.
He's he's incredible. So I want to know, you did not like Loki at Avengers
because there was no depth to him.
So what did you like?
Everything. Like, there's depth to him. So he's in jail.
Yeah.
And we see he's depressed.
Yeah.
He's very depressed.
I wanted to ask this. Was that all a plan? Was it all calculated?
I'm sure it was. Loki is a critical thinker. Like, he understands how to think critically about his situation, what's going on, and how do I get what I want.
Yeah.
Is he ethical? Probably not, but he knows how to think.
Yeah.
So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he was just playing at being depressed.
So I kind of want to hit on that. So at first he's talking to his mom in jail. You're like, oh, she's the queen. She can go in there. Mm-hmm. And then she disappears. Like, oh, was that him projecting? Like he just wants to talk to his mom from his mind?
Oh.
But I don't think it is, because we learn later that she has Loki's powers. Frigga can do what Loki can do.
Right, because she's actually his mother.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
She's not?
No, because he comes from the ice giant.
But he's not a giant. He had to have had a non-ice giant mother.
Yeah, but no,
because she says
they adopt him in the first one.
But she says, like, so that means I'm not your mother? And he says, no, you're not. And she says, you understand so little.
Yeah, so she's not the birth mother.
Oh. Do we know that for sure?
Because we see, because in the first Thor, they pick up a baby giant, blue giant.
Right, but Loki is not a giant.
I know, but he just looks like a human. I don't know. In the first Thor, there's a scene where they
logical inconsistency number 1,321 in the Marvel Universe. Loki, the frost giant, is not a giant.
Loki's mom tells him in jail, always so perceptive of everyone but yourself. Kind of like, giving us more Loki stuff. Like, because he's a fan favorite. He's not just in Thor. He's in the Avengers. He's going to be around for other stuff too, you know?
Yeah.
But here's what I was wondering this time. He sees the big bad guy break out of the jail. He tells the bad guy, take the stairs on the left.
Mm-hmm.
Is Loki planning to have his mom die? Or was that just something that happened in his plan to eventually escape? Like,
I don't
know.
You know way more about Loki than I do. At this point, I would bet not, because he seems fairly attached to his mom.
That's what...
Maybe it's just an act also. Maybe everything about Loki is illusions.
I know. What can you trust? I do tend to think he did love his mom.
Yeah, I got that sense.
But I always think he has a plan. He's always got a plan.
Yeah.
But I love it when he learns his mom died. He just stands in the middle of the room and like flexes, and all the furniture flies away from him. I think, and like you see him, he looks collected, and then Thor's like, "Show me your true self." And I think that stuff's all good, and like
I loved it. Yeah.
And then at the end, Thor's like, "You didn't have to do that for Father." And then he's like, "I didn't do it for him." Yeah. And you're like, "Do not say I did it for you." No, but he did it for his mom. I think
if he had said, "I did it for you," I would have shut the movie off. That would have been the end of the podcast.
So I think it's not out of the question, but the better story, I suppose, or sees the good in people. Like, no, Loki loved his mom.
I think so.
He didn't mean for that to happen. But Thor loses his mom too.
Yeah.
And you get this... Oh, man, there's a sweet shot when he's about to fly to the castle or whatever, and he just grabs the hammer on his way. It just looks so cool.
Yeah.
There's some... Yeah,
visually very awesome.
Anyway, Loki's interesting that way because, maybe he did have it all planned. He wanted his mom to die. Yeah. Anyway.
So those are the two things I would say are positive. Visually, it's awesome, and Loki's depth of character is very engaging.
I agree. I have a couple... How Odin says birthright. Do you catch that at the beginning? It's just your birthright. It's like, I just love that. When they're escaping and Loki's driving, he's like, "Loki, what are you doing?" It's like, if it were easy, everyone would do it. So it's like, how did he get to wherever? It's like, that's why people don't do it, because it's hard to sneak through this one crack in the whatever. Right. I just like that. Like, this is why you just can't do this whenever you want. I also like Loki and Thor, they're talking. He's like, "I wish I could trust you." And I think he's being genuine. It's like, I wish I could trust you.
Yeah. It is.
No, he's thinking with his heart. They had a whole
that is
life
the definition
together.
Of not thinking critically.
But, they had a plan that made Loki look like he killed him, cut his hand off, probably a nod to Star Wars. And what else? Oh, the double twist.
Yeah.
And then Loki dies a double twist.
And then he didn't die.
He didn't die.
Double.
He's sitting on the throne. I think it's fun this time. Natalie Portman is the fish out of water.
Yeah.
So Thor, fish out of water in the first one. Natalie Portman in this one.
How does she deal with Asgard?
Yeah, and it's not as interesting,
No,
not gonna lie.
It isn't.
But that's what they were doing. Like, it's the direct parallel.
Right. Yeah, it could never have worked because she's dealing with Asgard at the same time as she's dealing with the aether inside of her.
Yeah.
And so it was never going to be as good as Thor out of water.
Yeah. Oh, did you notice there's like the samurai friend, there's the Viking friend, there's the guy who I'm just going to call the French fighter, and then the girl one. Did you notice the actor changed for the French fighter?
In the middle of the movie?
No, from the first one.
Heck no, I would never notice that.
Except for it's Zachary Levi. He eventually becomes Shazam in the DC movies.
Okay.
So like, but he's doing both comics. He's doing Marvel and
Playing
DC.
both sides of the field.
Anyway, my last positive is just the ships are cool.
Yeah.
They twist. They're cutting through buildings.
Yeah.
It's cool that Heimdall gets to take one of the big ones down by himself.
Yeah, that was cool. I agree with all of that.
Yeah. And the last fight scene is not the best. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah.
But it's cool when they go to the portals and Mjolnir doesn't know where to go, so he just shoots straight up to this in space, then comes back down, then Thor disappears again, and Mjolnir just trying to find Thor. That's fun on top of like people hitting each other with hammers and stuff.
Yeah,
It's not as bad as it gets. There's one movie near the end.
Good.
Like I said, it just feels like a kid playing with action figures.
Yeah,
this feels like people are crashing into buildings and things, so there's weight behind it here. But there's a really bad one later on.
Good. So glad.
But there are good ones coming up.
I hope so. I was trying to figure out how it could have been more anticlimactic. At that point, it made so little sense that I was just like, who cares?
Yeah. That's fair, and that's why this one gets lumped down at the bottom.
But visually, amazing.
Visually, near
Gorgeous.
the top. You texted this. You liked Captain America makes a little cameo.
That was awesome. And Loki being Captain America was awesome.
Yeah.
I loved that because that's exactly how I think of Captain America. I'm so courageous and joyful and yay, America! And if I were to make fun of Captain America, it would be something exactly like that.
There was a time when all of these were coming out. Robert Downey Jr., he signed on for X amount of movies. Chris Evans signed on for X amount of movies. Chris Hemsworth, in their contract, he's going to do 8 appearances and then renew contract or be done type of thing. So when these things happened, it was like, oh, Captain America's here. That's fun. This counts as one of his appearances, though. So it's like, checking off the box, like how many more times is he contracted to be in these movies?
Oh.
If Captain America's here, does that mean that he'll have a fewer movies in the future? Even though it's like a cameo. But this was part of it. Even when Hulk showed up in Iron Man 3 in the end credits scene, I think the next movie we get General Ross back, who was in Incredible Hulk as like the girlfriend's dad.
Oh, okay.
Because the joke is like, oh, Disney forgot about his contract. It's like, oh yeah, let's get him back in.
So, ethics.
Wait, you don't want to do negatives?
I already did all my everything else.
That's you can't just say
I can't say that. Your negatives.
They're stuck on the Dark World, but then they're only stuck for like 2 seconds.
Right.
Could they escape? Yeah, it was super easy. Barely an inconvenience.
Yeah.
That type of thing. It's like, yeah, it would have felt better if they had to figure that out longer or something.
I agree.
Yeah. Malekith could have been more interesting. You know, he's Doctor Who.
Yeah.
This is the perfect Doctor Who problem. Use scientific gobbledygook to format these portals. Doctor Who could have done this.
Yeah.
But you don't like it here. You like it there, though.
like, it doesn't make sense. Like, when they first discover the anomaly or whatever, the crap, and they're throwing crap, and it comes up, and then it disappears. But, like, why? I don't know.
This is how I see
because it's not converged yet, so why would their crap be...
almost
I don't know.
It's just the stuff happening right before the big thing happens.
Okay.
I don't know.
But, like, at the end, when you're, like, all the crap is going on, that was kind of cool, because that made sense, because you can look up in the sky, and there are the convergences, and the things are going to be happening. By that point, I was so done with this movie that I didn't care anymore.
I know, I was with you. Well, they can't all be the smartest hero.
Okay.
We already have Tony Stark. We have Bruce Banner.
But he could think...
Yeah.
At some level. I mean, he isn't brain dead.
Well, he did.
As far as I can tell.
Technically, he was successful getting the ether out of Jane. That was his goal. He just did.
Good. Welcome to Ethics of the Real.
We need like a mini theme song for this.
Okay.
Ethics.
So the school of ethics that we're focusing on today is called Intuitive Ethics.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yes.
Indubitably.
Intuitive Ethics is about what feels right now.
Like having a podcast.
Sure. No. We thought a lot about this. Like, I don't care. I'm not going to think about it. I don't care about anyone's reasoning
like
or
most
argument.
people watching movies.
So Thor is like, right in this moment, what do I want? What do I feel is right?
Yeah.
I don't care if Asgard's going to blow up. I want to get the ether out of Jane. I'm focused on right now. And so I think all of the things that happen in this movie, from an ethical standpoint, happen because Thor is driven by intuitive ethics. And we see multiple examples of the flaws of intuitive ethics in this movie. He gives the Dark Lord the ether. He turns his throne over to Loki.
Uh-huh. He didn't know that was happening.
Literally everything Loki does every time he's on the screen is subterfuge and illusion. Of course he didn't die.
Anyhow. To the movie's credit, it does not dangle that in front of you.
That's true. Of all of the ethical schools that we're going to focus on over the course of this podcast, I think intuitive ethics is the most difficult to actually do something that would be considered ethical under other schools. So Thor, he doesn't listen to Odin. He doesn't listen to anyone.
Okay.
He just does what he feels.
Okay.
Go.
Have you ever heard of it's a not super popular series, like only cool people know about it, Star Trek?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever seen The Wrath of Khan?
Yes.
That's maybe like the worst one out of all of them.
I refuse to be
It was worth it for that. So, in Wrath of Khan, what does Spock do at the end?
He sacrifices himself at the end for the good of everyone else.
Obviously he had a reason for it. But, like, he also did it out of love, you know?
Sure.
But Thor, he's doing everything out of love.
But he's not...
Thinking?
He's not thinking.
It doesn't matter. It's for love.
Okay. That's how we're going to decide.
Hold on. Okay. Loki even points it out. It's like they give us a number. About 5,000 years are when Asgardians' lifespan.
Sure.
Yeah. And he's like, she'll be 100 and it won't even affect you a little bit.
Right.
It doesn't matter. He's in love. And what would you do for the people you love? You would do anything. You would risk the 9 realms for the person you love. You know what? There's a great example. I can't go into detail because I don't want to spoil it, but The Last of Us plays on this same thing. It's like, it doesn't matter the consequences. I don't even care.
Yeah,
I'm doing it for you.
I saw that.
Yeah? Yeah, I know you saw it, but not other listeners.
Oh, okay, my bad. Yeah, I don't want to. But that is fine. Except the position that Thor holds does not allow him to make decisions about right and wrong that way. He's future king, or he's an Avenger.
Right.
He's those two
He's
things.
also very handsome.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. And so people in positions like that cannot make decisions for an entire society, or in Earth's case, for an entire planet, because you feel like you love the person. And so, ethically speaking, I don't think that people in those positions can make decisions based on intuitive ethics.
Yeah.
I don't think they are allowed to. It's unethical.
Okay. Well, he doesn't even want to be king anyway, so...
It doesn't matter. He's still an Avenger. Even if he renounces his throne, he's still an Avenger.
But like this moment with Jane Foster has changed Thor, whether it's not as great in the first one. I felt it way better in this one, them actually in love.
Sure.
Because I also compared Odin and Frigga and stuff. Love. Love. All you need is love. You know what? Said by the best band of all time.
You're going to give me a headache. I already have a headache. All you need is love.
All right.
I mean, that's true. If there are only two of you on the planet, that's all you need, I guess. Unfortunately for everyone, there's more than two of us. And so we have to consider other people's needs.
Look at that.
Sad.
Maybe Loki would be a good king because he really wants it.
I think Loki would be a good king because he thinks critically. He weighs things. I mean, I'm assuming that there's something more than just a lust for power. If it's just lust for power, then no, he would be a terrible king. I
am so curious now when Thor 3 rolls around, like, how we view Loki in that one. Because now we're looking critically, we're looking analytically at Loki now. Mm-hmm. Like, was this all a plan? Did he love his mom? Yeah, probably. But does the next movie honor that? Because
we'll see.
Different people behind the camera and everything.
Cool.
Okay, so dessert of the reel. You have the dessert of the reel.
I guess the dessert of the reel for this movie is the ether.
Yeah.
Because that's all that's consumed, I guess.
I know.
There's no feasts. There's no... So, so we've got Jane consumes it. Apparently she didn't like it because she pukes it out.
Yeah.
And then Malekith takes it, and he thinks it's yummy. And he does absolutely nothing with it and gets the crap beat out of him by Thor and the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, in the beginning... Okay, so if we think back to the start of this movie...
Go on.
This Malekith guy is like, oh, if I only can get the Aether, I can conquer everything.
Yeah.
Because it's that powerful. It can't be destroyed. It's so amazing. Flash forward 2 very long hours later, he gets it. He comes to Earth.
Yeah. And then, to its credit, they don't destroy the ether. They used science.
Got it.
He didn't count for science to happen.
So the little metal toothpick is more powerful than the ether.
Size of bigger than a toothpick.
I don't even know what this stupid ether does, but like Jane did a better job using it because she blew up like a car and threw people back. He literally does nothing with it.
At the end, Thor said, he points that out. He's like, I thought you'd hit harder with the ether. Anyway.
Oh. Why do I have to watch these?
Oh, because it's like torture. So
that is the dessert.
That was the dessert. Yeah,
yummy.
That's basically it. What did we learn at the end credits scene?
Nothing.
No, we learned something. What did they do with the ether?
I hate it.
Oh man, we find out the ether. It's one of the Infinity Stones. So Infinity Stones become all of cinema's biggest MacGuffin. A MacGuffin is something that drives the plot forward that the audience couldn't care less about. It's very important to the characters, and that's good. Let's get the thing. Oh no, the thing. We got to get it back. We don't care about it. We care about the characters and how the characters grow and interact with each other. we're setting up these Infinity Stones to be the MacGuffins. So a famous example of MacGuffin is actually R2-D2 from A New Hope, the first Star Wars movie ever made. The bad guys want R2-D2 because he's got the Death Star plans. The good guys want R2-D2 because he's a cute robot and there's a princess that needs help. Everyone wants the robot, R2-D2, the droid. Who am I? I'm a real fan, I promise. A fun example is in Mission Impossible 3. It's called the Lucky Rabbit's Foot. They steal it. The bad guys want it. They're after him. The movie goes out of its way to be like, what is this thing? It's literally saying, this doesn't matter. Alfred Hitchcock coined this phrase. Anyway, that's that. There's other
So
examples.
we don't care what the ether is.
Not really. We care about what happens to Jane and how Thor reacts. And here's the problem. In a lot of these movies, the stakes are too big for a lot of these. Malekith, I'm not going to destroy this world, but 9 realms. Oh no. I hope that doesn't happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you can build up big stakes like that.
Right.
But if every single one is... I think actually the next one's a good example of like, the world's not at stake here. The stakes are smaller.
Yeah.
That's kind of why, like, my students preparing for finals week, I was like telling everyone who's taking finals or whatever, like, guys want to watch a movie while you finish up? Like, Spider-Man. All right, Spider-Man. We put Spider-Man 2 in, and the world is not at stake. Good. Peter Parker's relationship is at stake. The city of New York maybe is at stake, but not... You include too much, it gets...
It does. It gets overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah.
So instead of the philosopher of the real this time, I just want to give our audience a brief taste of critical thinking and how Loki and Thor play out. So critical thinking is about asking questions and making decisions based on the answers to those questions. Thor does not do this, as we've discussed. Loki does do this. Uh-huh. So there's a critical thinking model that I use with my students called the Paul Elder model. And
yes, of course.
It focuses on 8 different concepts. And we'll probably get to some of the others in the future. There are 8 main concepts behind the Paul Elder model. So the one I kind of want to focus on today is called point of view. And point of view asks you to consider the decision that you're making from different points of view. Loki seems to excel at this. He can figure out how to manipulate all of the other major characters. So he can think through their point of view and understand, okay, they're probably going to react in this way to this. Or he's thinking, how do I get this person to react in this way?
Yeah.
The only way he can do that is because he's a critical thinker. Thor has access to only one point of view. And so that's one of the reasons that Thor fails to do anything amazing. Like, he has no bigger plan. He just beats the crap out of things. My argument would be that he is unable to do that because he cannot see through any other point of view but his own.
Yeah, but that does set up interesting dynamics for other characters to deal with.
That's true.
You know, Odin's like, I told you not to do this, and you did it, and the thing that happened that I said was going to happen.
Yes. Right. So, I mean, if we look at this movie from that point of view, like, literally everything that happens that goes wrong in this movie is because Thor can only think through his own eyes, his own point of view.
Yeah.
Because he only uses intuitive ethics and doesn't have a stronger ethical base. He's not
Loki is the ethical one here.
No, I wouldn't say that either. But Loki is a critical thinker. And if we knew more, at this point, about what drives Loki beyond just a thirst for power, we could assess whether or not his choices and things he does are ethical. Because it is possible to do some of the things that Loki does for the greater good. Yeah. It is possible that Loki is a utilitarian, in which case he's willing to sacrifice this many people or this much whatever for the benefit of the greater, bigger. But we don't know that yet. I personally don't know that yet.
Did you latch onto the fantasy elements of this one?
It's a weird mix. Actually, I think there's more science fiction than fantasy.
Yeah, but...
Which was a weird mix.
But there's super fantasy things about it.
Sure.
The big battle at the beginning, it's like swords and shields and a big ogre thingy and being cursed, essentially. Like, Jane was cursed, essentially. Let's get this magic evil out of her. So it's fantastical. And isn't fantasy and science fiction the same thing if you think about it?
That's an interesting question. I don't know. Because we have Star Wars, which is not science fiction, it's science fantasy.
Yeah.
And so I would say Thor is a science fantasy.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yes, I would say there are some definite overlaps. So
I took a genre class in college, science fiction.
For your master's degree?
Yeah.
Oh.
Stuff like in 50s, all the aliens were essentially metaphors for our xenophobia and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm in a section that is about science fiction as fantasy. He says, science fiction narrative typically sets about explaining in a rational manner what, in some contexts, might seem supernatural. That is, it attempts to reframe some challenging phenomenon in terms of new laws of nature. You know, like how things change and stuff. New ideas.
So science fiction describes things in terms of new laws of nature.
Yeah.
Fantasy describes things in terms of magic.
Yeah, because usually science fiction, space, maybe, but also Jurassic Park is science fiction because hypothetically science could maybe do this.
Right. It's scientific, driven by scientific law.
Yeah, that's the back.
Yeah.
So
fantasy is trying to get at the same, this thing is happening, why is it happening?
Yeah.
From it's happening because of magic. Right?
Right.
And so there's definite overlap. That's why we can have Star Wars. Good take.
Yeah. I mean, anyway, I like this more than the first one, and most people seem to be wrong about this.
I don't think people are wrong about it.
It's definitely better than the first Thor.
I disagree with that also, but I respect your opinion. Because I liked the first Thor a lot. I think it's my second favorite so far.
I'm excited for you to watch Winter Soldier. The genre bending in this one, more spy, espionage. Cool. That happens to be about a superhero.
All right, so we encourage you
to think critically about the media you consume.
Absolutely. Don't let the media that you consume just program you.
Yeah, patience. Use the force. Think.
We love you guys.
Thank
you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and leave us a review.
Please share. Yeah.
It helps out the pod.
It does. See you next week.
Love you. Bye.